Hey, welcome to Slow Unpacking. Today we start with unpacking all the cards and then we analyze the whole pack. Today, in this pack of Strixhaven, we explore what evil means in Magic the Gathering and how it could be more interesting than it already is. We will still look at the cards for longer, but I also can guarantee you more value for watching. Because I can change the order up. Let's open our pack. So here we have Make Your Mark by Brian Sola, Blood Researcher by Christy Balanescu, Gwonrick's Pledge Mage by Caroline Kariba, Guiding Voice by Steve Arkville, Pillar Drop Warden by Antonio Jose Manzanedo, Reckless Implementor by Yait Goroglu, Waterfall Aerialist by Lee Setawan, Mage Hunter's Onslaught also by Lee Setawan, Ageless Guardian by Nicholas Gregory, Inkling Summoning by Scott Murphy, Fortifying Draught by Andrei Kuzinski, Igneous Inspiration by Pendorsky, Witherbloom Apprentice by Josh Haas, and then for the rare, Valentin Dean of the Vein and Lisette Dean of the Root by Jasper Ising. Well, you receive Valentin, and then we get a peek at Abundant Harvest, but then we see Lisette Dean of the Root, also by Jasper Ising. Here we have Abundant Harvest, for real this time, by Barbara Rosiak. And then last but not least, The Pest Token by Ilse Gort. Faster than you're used to, but we will still go in depth. As you can see from this overview, we have a lot of Witherbloom colored cards. When I looked through these, I noticed these extreme grins on both Valentin and the Prismari student in Igneous Inspiration. These made me think, are these characters actually that bad? What does evil even mean? Black has been associated with evil before, and to be honest, in many ways that's true in the stories. But evil as a concept is way broader. We are all a little evil. Evil is not limited to Witherbloom and Silverquill, and it's not limited to Extus and his mage hunters either. Let's start with the most evil looking card, Igneous Inspiration. With this very fitting artwork from Pendorsky, shows us a student that shows us a source of evil. The student is supposedly inspired, but they seem obsessed. This makes for a great sense of evil. Prismari students, and for that matter all artists, need to be obsessed with their craft to bring the world new creations. When an artist's eye starts shining like this and their grin is just a little too wide and they are holding a ball of flowing lava in their hands while they are crouched over a molten river, you might expect them to do something that is of detriment to others. The flavor text reflects this obsession too. It says, Prismari fosters a burning need to create. Any burning need or obsession leads to action. And when you stop caring for the effect of your action, let's say you want to create an artwork made of lava, you might be of detriment to other beings. Obviously, not all artists are evil. I believe the Prismari do not intend to do evil either. They are just obsessed with their craft. But inspiring others to destroy might not be preferable. Art always needs a nice balance of fantasy and a connection to what you would wish to see in the world. Or it could show you what not to do. It could teach you what is already inside of you and show you a way of making you feel destructive while not actually hurting others. That is what Igneous Inspiration does. Now, not all cards feature such an interesting side of evil. When I look at Mage Hunter's Onslaught, I see an overused side of evil. The one that is used in the story to be the clear opposition. Obviously, Axis and his mage hunters are bad. They are trying to destroy a school and resurrect a demon. But I am not such a salty man that I cannot look past that. Because let us look at this flavor. Which says, Axis stood before his alma mater for a moment, remembering first his studies, then his vengeance. At his command, the mage hunters unfolded. Now, Axis actually touches on a very interesting piece of evilness here. Axis stood before his proverbial caring mother, or in other words, his previous school, remembered his time there, and chose vengeance from that memory. This is interesting because there is an explanation to this mass murder. His explanation is that no one believed in him, showing us that evil always has a reason, but also that reasons for evil doing do not have to mean much. Someone could have told Axis that they did not like his science project, and later he would revive a 6-armed demon. This seems out of proportion, but does show us that evil often takes the place of the actual reasoning behind someone's actions. Just because we do not understand the reasons might not mean that we should not keep them in mind. Then, there are also forms of inherent evil, which could for example be about spells that need you to insult others, like we see on the card Inkling Summoning. Here we see either Killian or another Killian wannabe casting an Inkling, which is a creature that does seem crooked. Now I cannot truly tell you what is evil or not. That is something to think about. But what do you think of an insult or an aggressive Inkling? Are these always evil? The flavor text of this card explains why we might think of Inklings as evil. In it, Dean Ambrose says, "Think of an insult so vicious, so vulgar, that you hesitate to speak it aloud. The strongest, most aggressive Inklings are born from such scorns." Back in the real world, Nietzsche has coined evil as a weapon for the weak to use against the strong. I personally feel that if we were to abandon the concept of evil here, everyone would be throwing Inklings and insults at each other, and that would not make for a nicer world. I approve Killian's struggle with whether he wants to use insulting magic or whether he would like to support his friends. Now, at the beginning of this video, I noted that this pack had an awful lot of Witherbloom cards. Witherbloom to me has an even more obvious evil vibe around it. It uses life to fuel other life. With Fortifying Draught, we see a druid holding a concoction. He looks at it with the same eyes as the Prismari student from before. In the flavor, he says, "If a seedling can push through solid stone, there's no limit to what I could do." These thoughts are rather dangerous, and such an obsession, as noted before, can lead to intense action. This particular mage would like to imitate the strength of a seedling in order to persevere. But survival is one of the things we as humans have noted as being a good thing. We want to be healthy. We see other healthy people as more successful. If someone never gives up on their dreams, we applaud them for it. Yet, your perseverance could mean the destruction of something else. Now here lies the interesting part of Witherbloom, because their resources can be rather dubious. Before diving into the next set of Witherbloom cards, let us look at the concept of evil some more. It is a concept that helps us describe someone or something that is inherently evil. Their actions are so bad that the person that is evil cannot redeem their goodness. But let us now make the distinction between natural evil and moral evil, where natural evil is an evil that just is, and moral evil results from a choice that has been made. Now, evil as a concept can be far deeper, as no being we know of is fully evil. This is because the concept of evilness is created by us, and therefore we might say that creating an Inkling is not evil, while others might say it is. So let's keep that in mind and look at the next cards. The Deans of Witherbloom are Dean Valentin and Dean Lisette. It is interesting that this card is literally double-faced, as this makes us think that there is a death side and a life side to Witherbloom. Still, when we look at Valentine, who is a vampire and therefore in our minds already is evil, we see a person that is making spines and other bones fly around just to look cool. When we look a little bit further, we see that this Dean of the Vein uses the death of opposing creatures as fuel for now best to live. This vampire just wants to feed his pets. He also wants other creatures to die, but he also cares for other beings. The other Dean is called the Dean of the Root, which is the part of the tree that collects life force. Valentine is the Dean that rules over giving life. We all know that Kari and Witherbloom do care about life, but should some things end really always be evil? Lisette is the other Dean. Her mechanic is just about granting strength to creatures when life is gained, which you will usually do when pests die. Her flavor says, life is as fleeting as it is vibrant. Embrace the brief blessing of a flower before it withers. Now that is an interesting take. Instead of worrying about all this evil talk, could we not just enjoy and care for the life that is still there? We could, but then evil will run rampant, right? Not right, wrong actually. When enough people choose life, or when the ecosystem is strong enough, nothing can really hurt them. It becomes resilient. The concept of that system becomes immortal. Still, for its survival, it needs life force, or in this case, pests to die. In order for the system to exist, it needs parts of its system or parts of other systems to end. So let's listen to Lisette and just enjoy the life that is there and care for it, with everything that we have to give or take. Blood Researcher is another card that mentions Dean Valentine. This is another vampire druid that is looking at a vial of blood. Vampires are creatures that fuel their own power with life force of other beings. You might say that that is an evil thing to do, but then again you are not vegan, or are you? This researcher does not like to share her food, which is an evil thing. Her flavor says, Dean Valentine warns us not to consume the samples for our safety, but I think he's just being greedy. So, Valentine is a little greedy with his blood, or at least this researcher thinks that. We have seen that Valentine actually uses this life force for his pets. Although we know that all vampires like blood, this one is looking at her vial with a lot of interest. We can see this because she is touching her lower lip, signaling lust, or in this case, thirst. Lust and hunger have been seen as evil for a long time. You should not want anything, for that could hurt the needs of the system. In this case, this researcher is taking vials for herself that would otherwise go to her dean. I would argue that everyone needs to pay attention to their needs and wants. It could actually make our world better, as long as we pursue our needs while keeping others in mind. When you are working with other people that only take, though, I would advise you to leech on their energy as well. Strength does not equal evil. But what about appreciating someone else's weaknesses? Witherbloom Apprentice is drooling over her heart, because it is so interesting to him that hearts are so fragile. He says, all we are, every feeling, every action, powered by a single, delicate little organ. Life is so terrifyingly beautifully fragile. Now, that is the heart of the problem with classical evil. Someone or something is probably not inherently evil. It is more likely that their hearts were fragile, or perhaps their actions were powered by their hearts only. Perhaps their evil was a whim, or they could have had legit reasons. Not many beings are naturally evil. Most evil comes from our bad choices. Even vampires that are so often used as tropes for people that only take, could give to others as well. If someone would have your heart literally like this, that would be awful. but we often have to give our hearts figuratively. We need to give our hearts to show others our pieces of art. We need to show our fragile emotions and egos in order to be loved. Otherwise, we risk becoming like ecstasy. Missing memories of love can lead to aggression, as he shows us. Now, the true evil of Witherbloom lies with their tokens. These beings are actually naturally evil. You might think these things are cute, and they are, but they also eat a lot and reproduce way too fast. These are pests, and they actually destroy their environments. There's not much that can stop these when they escape, and we have seen some becoming actual threats to nature and life. These beings are not morally evil, they do not choose to hurt others, but they do just because they need a lot to sustain themselves, and they follow their instincts. Pests are also often experimented on, which is also very sad. This is a very real dilemma too, as experimenting on animals is a real thing, and we need to think about whether that is ethical. The Witherbloom get away with it for the same reasons as humans do. We do not get to see the animals get hurt. Witherbloom's work often goes unseen, and other students do not know what is in the potions that Witherbloom provides. They just drink them for their convenience. Now that is true ignorant evil, which is the most impactful kind. With the last card we touched on the true evil of human beings. I would say Guiding Voice does a good job of showing us this evil. Guiding Voice shows us to people who are giving each other compliments that are way too obvious. Our facades of nice words can often be used as a weapon. Still, compliments are always nice to get. They can help us get close to others with good intentions too. The bad part is that these people are honor-mancers. These magicians use a concept that is just a little too rigid for my personal taste. Us humans use codes of honor in order to decide what is good and what is bad. Humans might choose to take weird paths in order to stay honorable. You have to be respectful to people in weird ways, and you need to say hello in a certain way. Now, these constructs are not always bad as long as there is a reason to them. But making these rules and then forgetting their purpose, that is evil. Just judging someone is evil on its own when there is no reason to judge. That is the core of why the term evil is bad. If you do not take the reasoning behind the evil in account, just saying something is evil because you heard it somewhere is hurtful too. Think about your words and compliments and judgments, because as these honor-mancers show, your words have the power to change someone else. Another way in which humans can change this world is by harvesting its resources. We harvest anything we can in order to make ourselves grow. Abundance is amazing. It gives us the room to be less efficient. It makes place for us to make art, do sciencey stuff, and to make YouTube videos in our spare time. The true evil begins when there is so much abundance that there is waste. Abundant harvest puts halos around this elf as if they are doing something great, and they are, because they are using the fruit. But they are also placing a halo around the fruit, because having fruit is something to celebrate as well. As Lisette says, we should celebrate life as long as it is there. We should observe it, eat it, or use it in other ways. But when it goes to waste, then we lose an opportunity, especially if there was effort needed for it, or if we could have used that food somewhere else. Quandrix actually taps into this human desire as well. The Pledge Mage shows us that Quandrix is about growth and transcending physical limitations. It actually shows a merfolk reaching for something. Their growth is justified, as their flavor says. The first step towards transcending physical limitations is discarding assumptions about what is possible. This is actually a great strength of us humans. We have broken through so many barriers, and there are many more barriers to break through. Still, if we grow for no reason, we are wasting energy. As Reckless Implementer shows us, growth is often exponential. They increase the size of their hand for obvious reasons that are not safe for work. This maze represents us humans very well. We want everything to be larger. We want to see the numbers grow, often for no reason at all. Look around you. You probably already have more than you need. Even in more expensive countries, you can easily get by with a very small amount of money. This is okay, because of course you want to be more comfortable, or you want to have a bigger television to watch my YouTube videos on. But not using the wealth is a little bit of a crime. In a way, Quandrix is more evil than Witherbloom here, as they just grow and Witherbloom tends to life with that extra energy. Now here is our final, very human side of why we often do things that seem irrational. Us humans have a need for recognition. We want to be remembered. We want our after image to be immortal. We even repeat history in order to be known. Make Your Mark's flavor says, those who do learn from history may still choose to repeat it. This human apparently knew about his ancestor getting into a fight and chose to get into one as well. Fighting is almost never beneficial on its own. You should only fight for something that is important to you. Still, some people just fight to get a statue made of them, so that they can return in the afterlife. Lorehold might actually be the most evil school yet. Here we have another creature wanting to make their mark. This Djinn wizard just wants to be beautiful, and in order to make this beauty, they use water. Still, using water for art might be seen as evil. Even if art can inspire others, water can be used for survival in many cases. This is not to say never use water, we have it, so we should use it, right? But more importantly, every action that might seem unimportant can have a lot of effects, more than you might think. Let's think about this last concept. Lorehold is all about spirits and them returning. Ageless Guardian and Pillar Drop Warden show us that what you do in life reflects onto what you would do as a spirit. These spirits still guard their homes. Think about this. What would your statue do after your life? Or perhaps what would you want them to do? This question might not teach you what evil is, but it might teach you what you want to be. After this new kind of unpacking, I still want to appreciate some of the art together. For example, with Igneous Inspiration, the card that inspired today's topic, because of the expression of this Prismari student, it shows us the very human emotion of obsession. Pendursky's art often shows immense power, mostly power through action. But the strongest example of this power is still Glorious Protector for me. With this piece, Pendursky shows us that you can also be silent and still have a massive impact on the world. Stillness can also create a great change. When we return to Igneous Inspiration again, we see that this person is actually very still. They are enamored, which is another great human emotion. I love looking at this art again after this long examination, because it shows us that other side of obsession and its beauty. Don't you want to be obsessed like this? The same could be said for Blood Researcher for that matter, who is created by Cristi Belenescu. She is looking at her food with great obsession too. This is actually a great concept as well. We should all enjoy our food, and I believe that this can actually be the thing that saves our world. If we would all enjoy life and all of its sights and tastes like this, we would all have so much more appreciation and love for this world. This is actually the core of slow unpacking as well. I can really identify with this vampire, and I promise not to use your blood for evil purposes. Then there's this mystical archive that takes inspiration from Christian paintings with their halos. This one shows another type of appreciation for nature. Nature is the thing that feeds us, and we can all feel this inspiration from the expression from this ancient elf. Try to feel this more often. Now let's look at the whole pack again. If we were drafting, what would we see? Well, In drafts, it is important to know which cards are good and usable. Your first priority is a win condition. These are mostly Valentine and Lisette for their value, and Blood Researcher for her value and attacking prowess with menace. Then, to a lesser extent, there's also Witherbloom Apprentice and Waterfall Aerialist, which need more support, but are sometimes viable. Alright, then we look at the signaling. Most of these first picks are Witherbloom colored. This is a problem as your neighbor will probably also want to choose these, meaning that you will both be in the same two colors, meaning that you will get very bad second picks next time, and that is honestly not worth it. Okay, then your second priority is removal. These are Mage Hunter's Onslaught, which is very flexible but also black, showing us its strength, meaning that I think the next 3 people will want to choose black. But also Igneous Inspiration, which is less flexible, but the 2 free colors from this pack are white and red. So we might also go for this card, hoping to wheel more of the free colors from this pack. So then, the choice is between the flexible and very strong Lisette and Valentine, or the Igneous Inspiration that signals a lot and lets you know exactly what the people next to you will play, and lets you be more flexible between Lorehold and Prismari because it is only one color. I personally would choose Igneous Inspiration, but let me know why that choice is wrong in the comments. And now you are at the end. But I want to recap that evil is a very broad concept, and that means a lot. Saying something or someone is evil means that they are to be judged, while there is always a story behind someone's actions. In the same way, there is always a story behind the cards that we open, and I will be glad to look at them and extrapolate on their meanings together. As Lisette says, life is fleeting and vibrant. Embrace its blessing before it withers.